For centuries in Britain, what we now call mental illness was often seen as a punishment from God, or even a demonic possession. People were accused of witchcraft, prayed over, or sometimes just locked away in outhouses by desperate families. A few private madhouses existed in places like London's infamous Bedlam. They were more like prisons than hospitals, where inmates were often chained and lived in squalor. But the 19th century would change everything. Have you ever driven past a huge, spooky, old-looking building and wondered what it was? It was probably a Victorian asylum. In 1808, and more significantly with the Lunacy Act of 1845, the government mandated that every county build its own asylum. The idea, born from Quaker reformers, was moral treatment, that calm and routine in a rural setting could calm the mind. But as these places quickly became overcrowded, that idea soon faded. For the thousands inside Britain's Victorian asylums, life was a mix of routines and at times terror. For some, it offered safety, 3 meals a day, and for others it was a prison. Treatments ranged from gardening and work to hydrotherapy in freezing water and solitary confinement in padded cells. You could be admitted for absolutely anything, from paranoid schizophrenia to postnatal depression, or even just being a rebellious teenager. This system would dominate for over 100 years. The 20th century brought huge changes. The 2 world wars introduced the nation to shell shock, known as PTSD, making mental health a much wider issue. New and often controversial physical treatments emerged. Then, in 1961, Health Minister Enoch Powell gave a famous speech calling for the closure of these isolated Victorian institutions, comparing them to water towers, outdated and inefficient. The era of the great asylums was officially come to an end. From the 1980s, the UK began closing the old asylums, moving to a policy called Care in the Community. The goal was to treat people closer to home, but was it successful? The programme had major funding issues, and many argue it left vulnerable people feeling isolated. Today, the legacy is complex. We talk more openly about mental health, but the NHS mental health services are under huge pressure, and the debate about how best to provide care continues. These buildings are a stark reminder of how far we've come and also how far we've still got to go. Hope you enjoyed your history lesson.